Hey, God bless. So this morning I heard the very tail end of an interview with Michael Parks from Flyaway Home. Parts of it was discouraging, parts of it was encouraging. It's a homeless project to get people off the streets and into houses. And it sounds like tiny houses. But he used words. The discouraging was he used words like we're fighting homelessness and we're curing the awful problem and the tragedy. It's really harsh. Do you understand the negativity you throw at your fellow citizens? The negativity of the fighting, the warring, the tragedy. You know what's tragic? Is that politicians and bankers have been allowed to strong arm a good chunk of people out of the housing market and keep a huge chunk of people in utter distress because they can't keep up with the taxes and the fines and the fees and the permits. That's tragic. The tragedy and what you should be fighting are the intolerant, control freak politicians and bankers. It's just grates on one's nerves to constantly hear your fellow Americans fighting against you. It's very, very discouraging. The one really positive thing that was in the interview was the interviewee asked this Michael Parks if sobriety tests, will you give him sobriety tests, like a bit indignant, and he's like, no, which I was like, wow. Mind you, I'm totally against drugs and alcohol, but that is, sadly, that's usually legal things. Well, all the drugs aren't legal, but when I say drugs, I'm talking about over-the-counter and street drugs. They all suck. They all alter you. They all morph cells in your brain that shouldn't be morphed. They do bad things to you. I'm not for poisoning your system with chemicals. But so he said, no, they do not give sobriety tests, that this Flyaway Homes is for, their main focus is housing, not if the person is sober or not. So, that was good. I guess they supposedly have a high retention rate. But yeah, and like he was saying that most people don't want to be on the streets. I have to say the majority of people I know, they are so burnt out on people and the system. They don't. I mean, the one guy I know, they were pressuring him, which from what I see, they got him into housing temporarily because he was injured quite badly yet again. But I even asked him because he was like, well, they want me to, he kept saying they want me. And I'm like, what do you want? Do you want an apartment? Do you want this apartment they're like talking about? He's like, no. He's like, it's awful. He's like, what's that going to do? Last 2 months if I'm lucky? I can't be that close. He's like, I don't want to be that close to people. He's like, no. So, and if this really is not apartments, but actual housing where you don't have someone right, where your roof or your ceiling is not a person's floor and your wall is not a person's, like, if you don't have wallberts, that's what I call apartment living. Since you share walls, they're not your neighbors, they're your wallberts. Anyways, yeah, and then he did say the community, the weebies are, not the weebies, what is it, NIMBYs, not in my backyard, the intolerant, not in my backyard. These people demand, this is like a sanctuary state, sanctuary cities, and yeah, I mean, the neighborhood I was in the other day, I mean, they have walls, they have dogs, they have armed cops, they have armed guards patrolling the street. They actually have, it's not a overly populated area. It's one of the areas where, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, like for out west, the yards are just massive, especially in LA. But yeah, and I mean, like huge driveways, what is it? Garages and everything. And yeah, they have on the streets, no parking unless you're, a permit. Like, isn't that racist? If it's racist to have a wall at the border, why isn't it racist to have a wall other places? And especially when you're telling people that they cannot park on public grounds. That's what pisses me off. If you took your very own money, not subsidized, not taxpayers in any shape or form, and said, hey, I don't want anyone here, so be it. But when your street is built by taxpayers, well, then you have no say. It's public. It's not private. And I'd like to know how, it always comes in with homeless and the drugs and the alcohol. And it's like, why is there no push to have a sober society? Why is there no outrage over the wealthy? Why is there no demand for subsidized companies and and billionaires to be sober? Is anyone going into the Walmarts and what is it, Elon Musk? People thought it was funny. Oh, he was smoking a joint during the interview. Can you imagine if you're interviewing a homeless person and they're smoking a joint? Most people would have a hissy fit. Oh my gosh. Why is it semi-functional addicts are okay, but non-functional are not? And at the end of the day, there's really no such thing as functional. Have you ever known a functional alcoholic? I have. It's when you are behind closed doors. Oh my gosh, they're not functional at all. They're functional in the sense that they get the bills paid, but to actually have any peace, to actually have any safety, to have any boundaries, to have any sense of dignity and civility, it's out the door when you're dealing with drunks and addicts. For the most part, for the first time in my life when I came out west, I actually came across, what do you call them, happy drunks? I'd never, oh my gosh, I was camping and these guys were drinking. They drank hard liquor and they went through the bottle in one night and they were whispering and laughing. I'm like, what the? People can drink and not be angry and violent. Are you kidding me? Wow, that's a first. And it's a rarity. At least in my world, the people I know, that is an excessive rarity. Anywho, so yeah, this interview was partly encouraging and partly typical. So, and when they were talking about, are you getting support from the community and all these people not in my backyard, these intolerant people who demand sanctuary cities yet attack their citizens and illegalize citizens. He said that he was getting support, but then, they said the next opening was on 80 some street. Well, yeah, you're getting support, and they mentioned Santa Monica. Well, yeah, if you're taking these people far, far, far away from the coast, yeah, of course you're going to get their support. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really, you're taking people from the coast, you're making it so they don't have to be reminded of that. There's people who are suffering because of their politics. You should see the decadence of wealth here. Not only do these people usually have multiple houses, and even the other year in one of the magazines, it was the Malibu Blues poem, and how this person griped about how it was just so blue with the blue ocean and the blue skies, and they were just so blue and sad in Malibu. So they had their driver get their Rolls Royce and drive them to, I don't know, what was it? One of the B's. So Bel Air, Brentwood, Beverly Hills, one of those. But then it was just too congested and too much, and they just couldn't stand the city. So they had them bring them back 20, 30 miles to Malibu to suffer in their blues. Oh my gosh. The decadence. And there's all these clubs along the coast too. The decadence, the waste, the frivolous lifestyle is just mind-blowing. Especially when you pair it with their incessant, oh, the world is ending. Oh, you're using too many resources. Oh, you have to have a zero carbon imprint. You have to welcome everyone. They don't preach. They don't live a single thing they preach. So, yeah, if this dude is taking people off the coast and bringing them all the way back into 86th Street, yeah, of course he's going to have their support. Really? Really? So, to Michael Parks, thank you for having it be houses first and not a combo of houses and then you have to have everything tip-top and sober. I'm all for sobriety, but oh my gosh, if you don't demand it of anyone else in the community, in this nation, why demand it from the people who are going through the absolute most? Your excessive demands on the homeless, you don't put these demands on anyone else. Have you ever noticed that? I don't think most people notice it. Like, between the level of hatred and the level of demands you put on the homeless, it's just like, wow. Alrighty. Have a great weekend.